In this video I want to speak about forgiveness and trusting people after you've been hurt. Re-establishing yourself and trusting people. I totally understand how difficult this can be. This is a question that comes up a lot, especially when I'm teaching people and working with them. And again, it's a question it usually comes in different forms. Some people will just directly say, I really struggle to trust people. Now obviously, if you know my story, for many years I really struggled to trust people because my trust was tampered at a young age from a parent, and then growing up getting bullied, being shy, having a lot of sort of problems around socializing with people, and always getting into relationships where I felt were dysfunctional. So this is what I learned, and I'm going to share it with you. That's the reason I've spoken about forgiveness and trust, because for me the two are connected. Now usually, I'll just sit for a sec, that's better. Usually, always the case, if we don't trust people, it's because we've been let down in the relationship. Usually it comes from a relationship, obviously, where we've been close to the person. Could have been a girl that you've went out with, maybe she's cheated on you, or maybe she's let you down in the relationship. Or like myself, it could have been from a parent at an early age. It's caused a lot of shame, it's caused a lot of anger. And again, when we feel betrayed by someone, we usually get angry at them, and then we start questioning ourselves. We start blaming ourselves, saying, was it my fault? Did I do something wrong? Or am I being too nice, letting people take advantage of me? So there's lots of confusion around why would someone do that to me, or they were nice to me initially for the first few months of the relationship or the first few years, and they went and treated me like this. So there's an element of betrayal. The person's actually betrayed you according to what your own values are. You've betrayed yourself because you've trusted them, you've opened up, you've opened your heart, you've let them in, and then they've hurt you, and that's made you not want to trust people anymore. Because there's a lot of energy trusting people. You're putting your heart on the line. Emotionally, it can be a big risk for people. Some people can find trust easy because they've always had good relationships and so forth. For myself, it was always difficult initially. So this is what I learned myself. It's almost like that classic thing again, my mentor taught me, and it's been talked about a lot. When other people hurt you and upset you, you can't change them. Unfortunately, I tried that method and it's always failed me. The only thing you can do is you can talk to them, you can express you can express that you're upset, you're not happy. But the only thing you can really do is rebuild trust in yourself. And I think to re-trust other people again, you've got to want to do it. You can't force yourself to trust people after you've been hurt. There's going to be too much psychological resistance. There might be a lot of emotional pain. There might be hate. There might be, as I said, shame. Different feelings, maybe jealousy, self-doubt. All these types of psychological patterns that our mind can put us through when we've been hurt. So for me, it's really, like I said, about establishing yourself and actually forgiving yourself. So it's much easier, it's a natural process to forgive other people that have hurt you when you forgive yourself. And that doesn't mean that you have to continue a relationship with them. If it's a family member, that might be more difficult. Obviously there's an exception to the rule. If it's a girlfriend or a friend, you can just break that relationship off. Rebuild trust in yourself, which is making sure that you get your integrity right. Anything that builds your self-esteem, anything that helps you to love yourself more, it's going to be a lot more easy to transfer onto other people. And also to be realistic and to realize that just because one person has let you down, it doesn't mean everyone's like that. It's a big world. There are lots of good people in the world that can be trusted. Of course, there's always going to be people that can't be trusted. And it's also not being hard on yourself, but making sure that you can be trusted. Making sure that you haven't been mistreating people as well. And that can often be the case sometimes, that when people have let us down, even though it's not right what they've did, sometimes we've allowed them to do that. We've allowed them to do that by not establishing healthy personal boundaries in the course of the relationship. Maybe letting things pass. So sometimes we're not happy with something and we let it pass. We all do that to some extent. If you keep doing it, the person can lose respect for you. That's human nature sometimes. So it's about having personal boundaries. You don't have to overdo it. And it's honesty, it's honest communication, the way I'm talking to you guys or girls. So I mean, if it's a childhood trauma, this could be a longer process. My process was longer. But whatever process you take, it's always about forgiving yourself for that feeling of rejection or abandonment. And that's how it can make you feel. Even if someone borrows money from you and they promise to give the money back and they don't pay you and they run off, that can bring up stuff like the abandonment issues, or it can bring up a form of rejection, because it can feel like that. And it's all around this area of trust. And forgiveness, again, for me, is like love. You can't fake forgiveness. And if you're talking about forgiving someone who's traumatized you, that comes as a process, and that comes at a cost of you changing yourself. That's how I've always done it. If I've had a problem with someone, if it's a bully in the past, I've had to change myself. And the changes come through me changing the actual perception of the incident, changing the way I think, and that helps me to change the way I feel towards the person. Because at the end of the day, you really don't want to be carrying hate and anger towards anyone. And I know all about this, had a lifetime of it for many years, because it starts affecting you. You could be in another country and you've got hate or anger towards someone, and that story's still bothering you. So the forgiveness is important for yourself, and you're actually going one better. I think it's much better to rise above it. Lots of men may struggle to forgive a man, but sometimes if people do you wrong, the best way to pay them back is to forgive them. They're soon going to feel bad, they're going to regret, especially when you go on and do well. I'm not saying you have to do that. So trust is something that can be re-established, it can be rebuilt. So it happens to women, a man cheats on them, or someone cheats on them, I'm never going to trust people again. Well, at some stage I feel you're going to have to, because you're not going to be happy in life. We need one another, we need to connect. But then you can really start asserting yourself better, being more honest, and attract better relationships. Learn from that previous relationship. It can be a great learning lesson. It can be God's way of saying to you, this is a learning lesson for you. This had to happen, had to occur for you to make changes. It might be an insecurity in yourself, not always the case. And maybe you've done it. Maybe you want to forgive yourself because you betrayed someone. So on both sides of it, it's about forgiving yourself. And it's hard to sometimes explain this on videos because I'm using words, but I'm trying to translate an emotion and an in-depth psychological process. But I've always done that with honesty and love. And of course I've got angry in the process, I've been upset, I've wanted to lash out. Sometimes I have in the past, but that doesn't usually help it. And you'll find psychologically you'll feel cleaner. It will be off your conscience, and you do that with honesty. There's a few more things I wanted to say, I've just sort of forgot what I was going to say there. I'm a bit tired, it's been a long day. So and you'll feel much better after. You'll really feel, it's hard to explain. It will grow you, it will mature you, and it will actually make you more attractive, and it will actually make you appreciate relationships more. And again, it's that whole projection of, if you appreciate yourself more, you appreciate other people more. If you've got lots of hate towards people, it's evident that you've got some self-hate towards yourself. But all these predicaments that seem awful, and they seem like you can get out of all of them. I've been in these predicaments and I've climbed my way out of them. I've worked my way out, I've got closer to love, I've faced my fears. I've sometimes had to say, I made a mistake, that was my fault. So sometimes being a man or being a woman is owning up and saying that was my fault, and that will clear. So always honesty is the best policy, no matter how difficult, how uncomfortable. And trust is really important, because trusting yourself, trusting people, this is again, it's relationship. I've said it in my videos before. Your finances, your self-esteem, your habits, your life. So when I didn't trust myself and I had issues around people that I felt betrayed me, it started to give me a lot of depression, because you're clinging on to things that have hurt you in the past, you're not dealing with it. And I really feel that this is life, this is the test of life, this is what God does. There's events that happen in our life, sometimes we just haven't got control over it, we fall into it, it scars us, and then we have to look at that, and we look at that, we deal with it, and then we get a gift from it after. We get a gift, and that goes on to teach us another lesson. And it's always about, and what I'm teaching is about being a better person, being more social, and building healthy relationships. And you've got to get a good relationship with yourself if you want a good relationship with other people. I get lots of men that I work with and say to me, I want a girlfriend, but they're not ready for a girlfriend. And I've been in this place myself. They're not ready because they don't trust themselves. They're carrying things from the past. There's 1,001 things that are bothering them, and they think by getting a girlfriend it's going to solve it. Usually what you'll find is you'll project all your problems onto your partner or the girl, and that will break up, and that creates more distrust. So the distrust is coming from you. But I don't want you to blame yourself and start giving yourself a hard time, because distrust was coming from me when I went through some childhood traumas. I've spoken about before, lots of other events growing up, especially bullying. Bullying can create a lot of distrust. But so many people in the world that have come from these really dark places, including myself, have gone on to do amazing things, and I've proven that with my life, with the things that I've achieved and the things I've done coming from these places. It forced me to just say, usually I would say something like, enough is enough, I can't take it no more, I have to change this. And I'm going to use the word, the thing that everyone wants, and it always solves every single problem, no matter how difficult it seems, always love. And not just love by saying I love you and it's finished. That can be it. And an in-depth understanding of love, what Eckhart Tolle talks about, what Jesus talks about, what any spiritual teacher, connecting with that frequency in yourself. And that has a way of healing everything. It's got me out of every single predicament, and I'm still doing it now. And this is what this video is about. This video is connecting to that love that's in all of us, that love that Jesus spoke about, that awareness of as Tolle says, that space inside us, that no, it's not judgmental, it's not angry, it's not backstabbing, it's just pure love. And this is the space that we want to be in more often. And when we're in this space more, our relationships are functional, they're not dysfunctional. There's nothing like dysfunctional relationship. Dysfunctional relationship with yourself, dysfunctional relationship in your life, and then all those things like having money, having girls, having cars, fancy places, it waste of time. It will just lead to more dysfunction. So forgiveness, honesty, truth, owning up to it if you're the one who is in the wrong, moving away from the relationship. Sometimes maybe that will make the relationship better. In my experience, if it's been a really bad betrayal relationship, it's usually very difficult to rebuild it. But being optimistic, anything's possible with love. And I love, I suppose I'm really emphasizing Jesus' teaching of forgiveness, which is the most difficult, I find, of all spiritual philosophies or ways. All the other ones, when we say things like get confidence or move on, develop yourself, this is great. But forgiveness is something that you can't fake it. You have to decide, I want to forgive this person, and it usually comes through a process. And forgiving someone else is always forgiving yourself, because that anger that you have for them, that you're holding on to it, that's inside you spiritually. So to get that out, forgiveness. And I like Jesus' quote, and I liked it when Tolle quoted Jesus' quote when he said something like, forgive them for they not know what they do, or something like that. It's beautiful. So what he's saying is, when people do bad things, it's because they don't realize what they're doing. Their level of consciousness, their level of awareness at that particular time, they're acting from that place. So it's acting from, you know, it could be a childhood trauma, conditioning, and that's how lots of people are doing bad things, because they don't know what they're doing. And I hope I got the saying right, forgive them for they not know what they do, something like that. That's the general gist of it. When I first heard that, I went cold. It really connected with something with me, and I thought, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that's why. So I hope this video has helped, and this works. And this is I find all the teachings and all the principles, the ones that are difficult, they're always the ones that are most beneficial. The quick fix ones, get confident and free techniques, it doesn't work. It doesn't give you self-love. It doesn't change your life. It's a temporary fix. I'm talking about a permanent change. Forgiveness, self-love, self-trust, moving away from any dysfunctional relationships in your life by getting yourself right. And that's how you function, and that's how you get love in yourself and you connect with other people. Enjoy the process and find forgiveness through finding your own personal truth and honesty by it.